Hi there, everybody, as they would say here in Slovakia, ahoy. And we are continuing on the subject of character in this Call of God series for our Friday Revival Fire series. And I really got started to get into some things about character last week. If you did not see that, I suggest you go back and watch it. But we're going to pick it up from there. We're talking about things like love, integrity, faithfulness, truthfulness, trustworthiness, accountability, self control, treating people right the way you would want to be treated, some of those things. So important. It's so important as a person, especially important as a Christian, and especially important as a minister. No man or woman of God, I believe, ever deliberately set out to have lack of character. What happened? They failed to deal with issues in their lives. Unfortunately, you, me, everybody has different issues. Some people, you hang out with some people for a while, you realize some are given to insecurity, and it comes out in a way where they actually act very proud. Insecurity is a form of pride. It's like a backwards form of pride. It's still about I'm afraid I'm not good enough. I'm afraid everyone's looking at me. Inferiority, all of those things are still pride in the reverse sense that I'm still thinking about me. I still think it's all about me and that people are looking at me. They don't think I'm good enough. They don't think I can do anything right. It's still about I. And so some of us have had to deal with some of those issues. Others, that same insecurity takes on an opposite spirit. I've been around people that are very forceful, boastful, in your face, and it's still insecurity. It's just taking another role. I remember watching someone in a service years ago that they were seated in the third row of that church in that service that particular day. And I watched them grab one of the seaters and just have a fit. Like, you know who I am. I'm the wife of so-and-so, and I need to be in that front row right now. And I couldn't believe it. They moved her. I'm watching all that from where I'm sitting and thinking, I can't believe that. Pretty sure my Bible says take the last row and they will escort you to the front row. And later she actually even said to me, she probably saw that I saw it, and she said, you know what? Nobody is going to put that spirit on me of I'm lesser than. So I am going to show the devil and people that I'm not accepting that. I'm going to act in the opposite spirit and just take control of the situation. And I thought, that is not the way that we act in an opposite spirit. I can remember many times after Pastor Rodney was having me testify in many of his meetings. We're talking about back in 92, right after I was first touched in his ministry. I went to Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't say to anyone, wow, he called me out in Alaska. He prophesied over me. He had me take my time testifying a couple of times. He said wonderful things about me. He knows who I am. I need to be up there. That wouldn't even entered my mind. I never even said, I'm a minister. I should sit in a certain seat. So I sat back quite a ways. And it was so interesting. I remember him saying, why, Debbie, I see you're here from Alaska. Come up here and testify. That didn't keep me from testifying no matter where I was sitting or being noticed by God or by him. And many meetings after that, oh my goodness, 2 of them in Louisville, Lakeland, I sat several rows back. I didn't say, maybe you people don't know who I am, but I've testified now in about every camp meeting, nothing like that. And I would watch people that I knew had just met him recently, who had not even been brought up to testify, but I watched them stopping greeters and stopping seaters, and you could tell they're in their ear like, I really need a better seat. And I would just watch those things and think, I don't even understand that. I can't even comprehend that. And then I remember the day in, this one is a funny story now, in the Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis, Missouri. I had driven down with Noel and Edna DeVries, my team from Alaska, in a van. Do you know what it's like to drive through part of Alaska, put the van on a ferry, and ourselves on a ferry, pick the van up in Washington State, and drive from Washington State in the middle of the summer down to St. Louis, Missouri for days? We didn't stop and even get a motel room. That was crazy. We were trying to save money. Obviously, that was a long time ago, and we are a long way from how I thought back then. And we had two of my three sons with us, and it was just an interesting situation. And we dropped them off in Nebraska to be with grandparents, and I was stopping and ministering along the way. We finally get to St. Louis, to Pastor Rodney's camp meeting. We're so tired, and we walk in, and there was a volunteer lady at a booth there. She was a local lady from St. Louis, and she said, are you part of Pastor Rodney has started a new ministerial association, which of course we now know is Revival Ministries International Ministerial Association, RMIMA. And but back then I didn't even realize he had started one. He had already ordained me, and I believe I was one of the first people, if not the first one, that he ordained over in America. And she said, if you have proof of your credentials, you can get a little bit closer seat in this vast auditorium. And I said, oh, wow, I actually am ordained by him, and I'm his associate evangelist and have testified in many camp meetings. But you're right, I didn't know he started this association. I didn't bring any credentials down with me from Alaska. There's no way to retrieve those. Hopefully you can take my word at it or ask someone. No, you are not getting special seating. And furthermore, I don't even believe you're a real minister. I don't believe your story. And I was so shocked. I knew I could pick up the phone and call Pastor Rodney or Pastor Adonica. I could call other people on their staff that knew me very well. I wasn't about to bother anybody over a little issue like seating when they are putting on a camp meeting to shake the world. This is the last thing they need to hear. Oh, now Debbie's complaining. Nobody will let her sit up close. So I said, okay, ma'am. I didn't try to tell someone how rude she was to me, what she said to me, so let's get rid of your volunteer in the booth. I just sat way up. By the time I had taken time to do all that, we aren't getting there very early, and I am sitting way up in what we would call the nosebleed section in the balcony, and I can barely see the platform. I needed binoculars, and Pastor Rodney is admonishing the crowd, having some people up to testify. And he goes, Debbie, aren't you here from Alaska? Where are you? I can't find you anywhere. And I'm kind of waving like 5 miles away. No, slight evangelistic exaggeration. And he's like, I know he was partially joking, but it was, you know, again, I take things very seriously as like a fairly serious rebuke at the same time. He goes, what are you doing sitting way back there? Hurry. I need you on this platform, and hurry. Come quickly. And he says, and next time, don't be sitting back so far that I can't call on you when I need you. I'm like, oh, great. I got it from her. I got it from him. Well, I'm just going to run as quickly as I can in my little skirt from the balcony all the way up to the platform. I never told him or Pastor Adonica or their team what that lady said to me. I am sure right about them, wherever she was sitting, she's probably like, oh, no. And I thought there's no point in getting her in trouble, although there probably is a time and a place that people need to be told, don't greet Pastor Rodney's close friends like this and start their camp meeting off this way. But I thought to myself, not getting angry, not reacting, but just taking a seat up in the balcony, God still knew where I was sitting. And of course, the day came that now I am very privileged to, it just automatically happened, that I'm usually in the front row. And I never asked for that. And I can receive from God wherever I'm sitting. I will admit it makes it easier in that front row, less distractions. But my point being, character doesn't force its way in. Character doesn't throw a fit. I've been sitting close enough, and because I've been friends with some of the greeters in different meetings, they told me the stories of people just lying. Pastor Rodney said to tell you I'm supposed to have a front row seat, and you'll be in trouble if you don't give it to me. And they check with him later. I never said that. I never. So you've got ministers lying. Pretty sure my Bible says all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire. So it's fairly serious unto God. They're throwing a fit. They're trying to promote themselves. For what purpose? God sees everything. And he is the one who has to promote. And he's not going to promote that kind of attitude. And while those are not things I've had to fight with, I've had to fight with my own issues. Maybe before this series is over, I'll tell you a couple of them. Other people, they may get frustrated driving in traffic and get road rage, which I got to admit, when I first heard about road rage, I couldn't even comprehend that. I'm like, the other person doesn't even know you're mad. If you yell at them in your car, it's not going to change anything. They aren't going to hear it. We certainly, I hope, don't give someone the finger. And I don't even get it, because honestly, even though people are stupid and they could end up taking someone's life, I guess I tend to think that most people just accidentally made a wrong decision. They thought they had more time when they pulled out. They didn't see you, so they did this. I guess because I have been the one, because this is one of my problem areas, I have a hard time making quick decisions, especially in traffic. It's been the one thing I've really had to work at overcoming, fear of driving, maybe because I've been in a lot of accidents, none of them my fault. But I'm a little hesitant. Do I have enough time? Do I not? This could cost me or someone else their life. Well, hesitating like that costs everyone. And when I grew up in small towns in Nebraska or even Alaska, when I got to Tampa with that kind of traffic, and of course I have assistants that drive me around most of the time, so I have even less practice. Now, of course, in that fast car of mine, if I can get out somewhere where there's not so much traffic, I love driving. I love seeing what it can do. But making those quick decisions, you're trying to get on the interstate while they're trying to get off. You've got to get over, they're coming over, but it's bumper to bumper traffic, and you've already seen 3 accidents on 75 on the way to your destination. I tend to be one of those that I think can make the wrong decision. And I have people behind me honking at me, giving me the finger, yelling at me. And I never want to be one of those to someone else. And I tend to think that most people are like me. They just, maybe it is true, they need better experience at driving. They need to work on it. But I don't think anybody's sitting there going, let's see if I can kill them and me too right now. Let's see if I can do them dirty. So I don't, but other people, that's their problem. Quick tempers. Somebody else, it's lust. Somebody else, it is gossip. Somebody else, it is jealousy. Somebody else, it is, just always thinking that somebody's looking at you, and that so you won't ever step out in the water and do anything you're called to do. With someone else, you wrestle with that poverty mentality, or you're a cheapskate. With somebody else, you cut corners, you compromise, you exaggerate, you tell stories to make yourself look better or to get ahead in ministry. We are all dealing with different issues. Some people, it might be fear of flying, as I said, fear of driving. It might be fear of different pastors. I've had to overcome that, especially being a lady with some of these domineering pastors. And sometimes it about cripples me to even walk in a church. What am I dealing with? Once I get there and get under the anointing, I'm fine. But I've had to press through that. Debbie, you can walk in with your head held high and not kind of cower like you're lucky little lady. We're letting you in the door of this fancy church. We all have our individual areas. As I said last week, I never liked confrontation. That's been a big area. I have very strict parents. Now, I think that that developed character in me in many areas. On the other hand, they were parents that didn't believe in telling you when you did good, that they were proud of you. They felt that would spoil children. They didn't, their love language was definitely not words of affirmation. And since it was mine, I never felt the love. They weren't huggers, they weren't people who told you that. I did come to realize later in life when I read the Five Love Languages books that theirs was acts of service. And especially my mother, that was the way she was telling me she loved me, by washing my clothes, having my room perfect, everything, all the chores done for me. And I did come to appreciate that later in life, but I needed some of those words. So for me, I felt like I would have to work hard to get any love or any attention. And that even if I did 999 things right, nothing would be said. I was the straight A student. I was the one everybody said was the most behaved child. I did not rebel. I did not talk back. But if I did 999 things right and one that you didn't, you have a wrinkle in those clothes you just ironed. I saw in your drawers your socks started to fall over onto your other underwear. My mother actually said one time, I give up on you. I just opened your drawer and I saw some of your socks falling over. I saw two hangers back this way in the closet. And I got to admit, that time I lost it. And I said things that I knew I was going to pay for. I have friends getting pregnant out of wedlock in school. They are sleeping with people, obviously, before they're married. They are drinking. They are getting bad grades. Some of them start to try to do drugs. I'm serving God. I am getting straight A's. I've never done any of those things. And you're going to give up on me because my socks have started to fall over onto another article of clothing. And because I have a hanger backwards, I was in a hurry before I went to school this morning, so they're not all facing forward. And she said, yes, I don't care what other children do. You are my child, and you will do things right. And I was grounded for that. And I remember thinking, it doesn't matter how much I do right. If I do one thing wrong, and that is something that God has had to really work on in my heart. And he's still working on with me. That I feel like I have to make every pastor 100% happy. Everybody, everywhere, the people above me, the people below me. And if they smile at me, all is right with my world. And if I see them looking kind of stern, I'm like, are they upset? Have I done something wrong? And that is no way to live. So I'm being very honest with you about some of my character issues. We all have them. And God reminds me, you need to be patient with other people, Debbie. I'm working on you, just like I'm working on them. And however, he is calling all of us to come up higher because people are watching us and they're following us as we follow Christ. And so we're going to stay in this for a while. And I ask you to search your heart and ask the Holy Spirit to search your heart and to reveal to you, not that you're condemned, not that you feel hopeless or I haven't done my job right, but sweet Holy Spirit conviction that says, this area right here, you just need to make a turn. You need to recognize it and let me do a work in your life. And I promise you, my friend, he will do that until we look like Jesus, walk like Jesus, smell like Jesus, and think like Jesus. So until next time,